What's up, sports bettors? Tom Brady doesn't take off Christmas. We don't either. I have 12 player props in this video. I know I've already given out a ton of other NFL prop bets from earlier in the week. I say this all the time, but sometimes you'll find value earlier in the week when books open lines. The markets will be very inefficient, lineups will change, and you can get some good early value in those great lines. They're not going to last forever. But what I'm going to be sharing with you today is just 12 player props on PrizePicks. I have some NBA for Christmas. I have some NFL for today, and we're going to be going through everything. And as I always say, the purpose of the Odds Jam YouTube is I'm just showing you things I'm putting my own money on. If I find value on PrizePicks, I'll do videos about PrizePicks, right? If I find value on Underdog, I'm going to do videos about Underdog Fantasy. So the reason I like PrizePicks today is this is also a promo everyone should take advantage of, is they're letting you bet on Jokic over half of a point. So they're lowering his projected point total by 25 points from 25.5 to 0.5. So this is like a no-brainer. You got to include that in something. Jokic to get 1+ point, you can get on a PrizePicks parlay. So let's go ahead. Let's get into it. I say this all the time, but there's a lot of ways to find good bets. I'm not saying that there's one perfect solution, but everything I do follows a data-driven approach, right? A verifiable approach where you can back out your edge. You can back out your profit margin. So one strategy, people love doing when using OddsJam, and again, every location will have different sportsbooks, so you can switch around sportsbooks, is they'll just kind of like hunt through the market and look for value, right? So I'll give you an example of a play I actually ended up locking in. It's right here. Giannis under 5 assists, right here. Underdog Fantasy, their direct competitor, they basically work in the exact same way, has the line at 4.5 assists. All the sports books have the line at 4.5 assists as well. Granted, juice towards the over. But typically, these are spots I look for, right? I look for where books are setting the lines at completely different levels, and you can hunt for value manually. So if you want to take Giannis's under, you obviously want to be taking it on PrizePicks under 5, right? Because if he has exactly 5 assists, you're going to push on PrizePicks, and if you bet him under 4.5 assists, you'd lose. So you can scan through the market. OddsJam is updating for every sport you want to look at, for any game you want to look at. It's millions of odds, updating in real time. These odds are real time, whatever markets you want to look at. And you really can just hunt through the market, look for value, look for discrepancies. You're kind of like a day trader. You're kind of like an investor. OddsJam's your Bloomberg terminal. You wake up and you're like, okay, where's the value today? And it turns out the value's on Giannis under 5 assists, right? And then also there's value on Tatum under 4.5, which we saw in the EV tool. So, OddsJam really is just a platform with no BS, right? There's no, Tatum, he had a bad falling out with his girlfriend, so he's not going to play well. There's no BS. It's just all data, right? You have hundreds of sports books in the sports betting ecosystem: FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars, BetMGM. They all want to be unique. They all try to set lines independently. So what's really cool is, as a sharp bettor, we treat every book as an independent data point of where the line should be set, and we look for value, right? So is Giannis under 5 assists, is that a lock? No, of course it's not a lock. It's not guaranteed to win, but versus the rest of the market, there's very clear value, enough for me to lock in. And I'll give you an example of some other ones, right? So another one I locked in is right here. So we have Dalvin Cook under 3 receptions, as you can see right here on Underdog Fantasy. So we ended up taking that earlier. It's still available, so definitely lock it in if you haven't already. I have it in the $750,000 to $15,000 entry. Definitely take advantage of it. And again, it's why do we like it? Let's go back to OddsJam, and you're going to notice, hey, all the sports books have the line at 2.5, or they have the under 3.5 juiced to minus 225, right? So if you kind of took the midpoint of where the books are with the 2.5 and the 3.5, FanDuel, and PointsBet or something like that, the under 3.0 would be in the middle of this, roughly minus 160. And we're getting minus 122. in an underdog 5-pick or 3-pick entry. So if you don't understand the implied odds, we go through them in a bunch of videos. I recommend, we have some articles on OddsJam. I've done a bunch of educational videos about how to use these platforms, how the math works, exactly detailing the payouts. And I think it's important to watch because this is your enemy, PrizePicks is trying to make money off you. You're trying to make money off them. You got to know exactly how their payouts work, right? You got to know everything about them. How do they work? But anyways, let's continue to go through. So ended up locking in, Cook on Underdog previously, but a play I had on PrizePicks is right here. So I may have to, right here. So I'm on Jennings under 3. Same reason. And this is why you get both Underdog and PrizePicks. You never know where the value is going to be. The value for Cook, every book was setting the line at 2.5, or the under 3.5 was super juiced. It's like, yeah, we want to be on the under 3. Here, the value's on PrizePicks. All the books have the 2.5, right? We're getting under 3 at minus 119 implied odds in a 5 or 6-pick flex play. So you'll notice, on Underdog, I'm always placing 3-pick or 5-pick entries because it's mathematically optimal. You'll notice here, there's winning streaks, there's losing streaks. I'm just showing you things I bet on. I mean, this was close to a dart, 2,000 to 40,000, but hey, Jaden McDaniels, come on, man. But you'll notice, all my plays are going to be 3-pick or 5-picks. And we were really hot. Now we're running a little colder. So you can look for value in a bunch of ways, and what's cool about this, screen, right, is you can compare lines set at different levels. It's very much so like a Bloomberg terminal. So here, I noticed, whoa, RJ Barrett, or Julius Randle, his point total is 24.5 on PrizePicks. All the books have him at 23.5. So if you want to take his under, clearly getting him under 24.5 on PrizePicks seems like the play. And there were some others like that, but that's just an example. Whereas here, it's whoa, here it's Underdog, has the line at 11.5 points for Quentin Grimes. All the books are at 10.5. So if you wanted to take his under, maybe there's some value on the under 11.5, right? So this is useful for comparing lines set at different levels because you're not comparing apples and apples. Quentin Grimes under 11.5 points is not the same bet as under 10.5. I mean, they're pretty similar, but if he has 11 points, you're winning on Underdog, you're losing on PrizePicks. And I think a lot of people, they'll be like, oh, I'm on the over. It's the over 131 or the total moved up to 132.5 or whatever, which are you on? So you got to be specific about these things. Now, I also use the EV tool a lot. And what this tool is pretty simple. It kind of takes the millions of odds on OddsJam for whatever filters you set out, PrizePicks, Underdog, whatever filters you just want to bet on certain sports. I bet on every sport. I don't freaking care. Where's the value? I don't just focus on the NBA. It doesn't make sense. The same concepts of finding value, finding an edge applies to any sport. So you want to be betting on every sport, in my opinion. Very strongly believe that. When I was working, as an investor, I was working in the financial world. It's there's value in certain sectors, you're going to focus on them. There's value in other sectors, you're going to focus on them. Here, the value's in the Bucks-Celtics game, the top play on OddsJam. So that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm doing this to make money. I don't just want bets on the popular players. I want to make money, right? So the play I ended up going with first is, so we already have a couple plays from the screen, but is Jason Tatum under 4.5 assists. So you should definitely take advantage of this. You'll notice all the sports books have the line juiced minus 140 to minus 162. And again, we want to include this in a 5 or 6 pick flex, not in a 2-leg entry power play. Those are horrible. Minus 137. Implied odds versus roughly minus 119. So basically, it's okay, we know we can get Tatum in our parlay under 4.5 assists. We already have Giannis at minus 119 odds. Do we like that? And this is what I mean when I say data-driven sports betting is, right, I'm not trusting my gut. I know these sports books invest hundreds of millions of dollars into their trading technology. They're really sophisticated. Is I'm getting under 4.5 assists, right here. FanDuel is pricing this at minus 162. We're getting minus 119. Pinnacle, sharpest sports book in the world, minus 148. We're getting minus 119. So you kind of look at the entire market. You treat every sportsbook as a data point of where should the line be set, and you look for value. So like the way I kind of view it is, on PrizePicks, you can buy this stock, this asset, Tatum under 4.5 assists for 119 bucks. DraftKings is telling you it's worth 140. Betway, 145. Pinnacle, 148. Caesars, 145. FanDuel and Unibet are more bullish, 162 and 167. Like, that's what's so crazy about sports betting. And then it's like, do you want to buy this on PrizePicks at minus 119, at 119 bucks, given where every other book is? And there are formulas to quantify this. That's why I love EV betting. There are formulas to quantify your edge, to back out your profit margin. Right? And you're never going to get perfect answers to what should the exact line be. Because, right, FanDuel sets lines independently from Caesars. They want to be unique. FanDuel's more bullish on the under than Caesars. But, looking across the market, it's it's a freaking no-brainer getting this at minus 119. So I locked it in. 4% profit margin right here. And you could also slightly hedge. You could arb out of it on Unibet if you wanted to for a little. But, that's a little more complicated of a strategy. But again, OddsJam has different betting tools. I focus on EV. But if you want to learn about arbitrage betting, making risk-free money because sportsbooks have such different odds from one another, then you can do that. So next, I'm just following the data. I went with these 4 plays. Look, this Tatum play is the most profitable from the EV tool. You can sort by profit margin. I typically sort to see the highest profit margin plays first. And I went with Justin Fields over, Paris Campbell under, Jerick McKinnon over. And one thing you have to mention is a lot of people are like, oh, 4% return, that doesn't seem that great ROI. It's like, this game's tomorrow. It's on Christmas. The stock market returns 8% a year. You're getting 4% in a day. Think about it. That's, a lot. 4% times 365. Think of how your bankroll grows. So when I talk about I love sports betting, I love the money. You can make a lot of money. It's I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's not a grind, but you can do it. A 4% profit margin every day. It's going to be streaky. There's going to be variance. I show people, I give out some plays on Twitter when I don't have time, and you'll see it's freaking streaky, right? Zoom. But you can have an edge and you can win long term. So this is verified bet tracker, pick it. And not every day is going to be a winner. Not every bet's going to be a winner. I'm not saying this is a get-rich-quick thing. It's not. But you can win. And, So here are the plays I ended up locking in. Let's just get into it. So we can recap Underdog Fantasy. Diggs under 5.5 receptions. Devontae under. Cook under. 250 to win 1,500. So a 3-pick entry we went with because, again, those are mathematically optimal. Here we already cashed leg 1. 750 to win 15K. This one I'm pretty happy with. And then we have, this 3-pick entry. And then we have this entry, under, higher, under. And what's really cool about this one is if you actually take a look at PrizePicks, what you're going to notice, and we won the first 2 legs too, which is insane, is we middle bet this. So again, OddsJam has a bunch of betting tools. There's a betting tool called Middle. And what that shows you is when sportsbooks, kind of like the screen, have the line set at completely different levels. So Tua, we got him under 290.5 passing yards on Underdog. And on PrizePicks, we have him over 255.5. Kirk Cousins, 255.5, under 285.5. 30-yard difference. So the way you want to think about it is okay, we have Tua over 255.5, under 290.5. If he has 260 passing yards, 270, 280, 290, we win our under, right? 270 passing yards, under 290.5, we win. We also win over 255.5. We middled it. So here I have a PrizePicks 100 to win 1,000 5-pick flex, which is pretty cool. And then on PrizePicks, some of the more recent ones I ended up locking in are right here. So this is a Christmas promo, right? We have Jokic over. You got to take advantage of that to score 1 point. Harden over, Poole under, LeBron under, Randall under. So fading a lot of the stars, but that's where the value is. Again, I'm following the data. I'm following the value. I'm not betting with my gut because I want to make money. and I know it makes money long term. I mean, in the same way, like the entire financial industry is run by data, it's not different in sports betting. The people making money aren't the people, who like on Twitter, they don't even have a real picture of themselves, like these fake people, like, selling stuff. Like the way to make money is to find an edge, to look for value in the market. And what's so crazy about sports betting, again, is there's so many different data points. You have so many different sports books out there. So like for Tatum, under 4.5 assists, it's like, why are we trying to determine, these lines are set by sports books who invest hundreds of millions into their trading technology. And also it's set by, supply and demand. In the same way the price of a stock is supply and demand, if everyone comes in and they hammer Tatum's under, this line is going to move from minus 160 to minus 170 to minus 180 to minus 190. Books move around odds as they try to make their spread. They try to make the VIG their spread. They're constantly moving around odds. So like as a data-driven sports bettor, we're looking at all the data, we're following the line movements and trying to find value. And again, like sometimes, there's bigger discrepancies than others. So the difference between betting at minus 160 versus minus 161 isn't enough to beat the VIG. Like plus 300 versus plus 310, it doesn't mean, everyone go rush to bet the Bears plus 310 or plus 315. Like out of the millions of odds across the sports betting market, most plays aren't profitable. Like most lines, Underdog Fantasy has tens of thousands of odds on their site at any given time. Tens of thousands, right? You can bet on anything. It's all minus 122 implied odds in a 3-pick or 5-pick entry. So OddsJam's trying to do is take all this data and say, hey, 99.9% of these are horrible due to the VIG and mathematically unprofitable, but here's a play that is profitable. The one rare betting opportunity where they're asleep at the wheel and it's a big line discrepancy. So here's the 6-pick flex I went with, 80 to win 2K. Again, flex plays, like depending on how many you win, you get different payouts. But we have Tatum, Jennings, McKinnon, Giannis, RJ, Fields. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what's winning, what's not winning. Let me know if anything's confusing. Using data to find plays with an edge, letting OddsJam scan the market constantly to point out this data. Again, like the screen is useful for comparing lines set at different levels, when this EV tool is really useful for seeing lines compared at the same level, right? Like here, it's like Watson over to have an interception. It's not over 1.5 on some sports books. You're comparing the exact same bet. It's like a different price of Bitcoin. It's like having 100 different prices of the same stock. It doesn't really make sense. So let's make money.